Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. I wish I could say that this was my home, but it's not. And if you have listened or followed country music at all, you might recognize this room. This is the Women of Country room at the Grand Ole Opry, and this is not how I planned on introing this video, but I'm busy. And this blanket just came together, and I'm giving it to a very special person tonight at the Opry, and so this is how we're going to intro it tonight. But if you want to know how to make a very simple and pretty crochet blanket, just keep watching. So all the supplies you need for this blanket are 3 balls of yarn. I like to do 3 balls of yarn in the same color just because I think it gives it a really classy look. You also need a size 9mm crochet hook. So to start this blanket and most blankets in crochet, you're going to start with a foundation chain and a slip knot. So to make a slip knot, you're going to take your yarn, you're going to wrap it over itself so that it crosses over. I like to reach my fingers through, grab the yarn, and pull it through the loop. And this makes a slip knot. As you can tell, it slips out very easily. So, cross the yarn over, reach through, pull up a loop, and make a knot. To begin your foundation chain, you're going to insert your hook into that loop, and you're going to pull the slip knot to where it is tight around the hook. And you don't want it too crazy tight. You want to be able to move it around, but just that it's pretty much wrapped securely around that hook. Now this is your tail. We're not going to focus on that or do anything with it until the end. This is your working yarn that is connected to your 3 balls of yarn. Your foundation chain is going to determine the width of your blanket. So when trying to decide how long your foundation chain is, for some blankets, you have to have an even number of chains or an odd number of chains, but for this blanket, it is extremely customizable. You can have an even or odd number of chains, and you can make this as long or as short as you would like. So this would be a great option for a baby blanket, a throw for your couch, or even a full-size blanket for your bed. When I'm making a blanket that is big enough to cover one adult-sized person, I usually do a chain of somewhere between 115 to maybe 140. And what I like to do is just make the chain and lay it out over my lap until I feel like it's a really good width to where I could lay under it comfortably. So all you do to make a chain is you're going to wrap the yarn over the hook, and then I like to hold it securely with my thumb and my finger, and you're going to pull that loop through. All right, and the reason I said about holding this part is because if you don't hold it, then it's going to be really hard to have any control. So I start holding it between my thumb and my middle finger on my right hand, and then when it's time to pull through, I end up switching over to this hand. So I'll show you that again, but mainly what you need to know is you yarn over and you pull through, and this is how you make your chain. Okay, so as you can see, I've done that 3 times, so I have 3 chains. See these V shapes? So that's 1, 2, 3. Each V is a chain. I'm gonna do maybe 12, just so that I can do a simple swatch to show you how to make this blanket. So that is what your chain should look like. The front side of it is all of these beautiful braided style V stitches. And if you flip it over to the back, you're gonna see all of these kind of ridges and these back bumps. Now here's a trick that I wish I had learned earlier in my crochet journey. I think that it is an incredible tip to work into the back bumps of your chain when working your first row instead of this front V section, because at the end of your project, you're gonna have this nice, beautiful edge instead of having this as the edge. You're gonna have this beautiful braided edge, and it's gonna look a lot neater and more complete. So when it's time to start your first row, the only stitch you need to know for this blanket is a single crochet stitch. Once you get that stitch down, you can make this blanket as many times and as fast or as slow as you want. It is very simple to do. So when it's time to start your first row, you're going to chain 1, and this is going to be your turning chain. So we're not going to work into this. We're going to flip this over, and we're going to work into these back bumps. So as you can see here, we have this first one right by our hook. We're not gonna work into that because that is our turning chain. So you're gonna work in the second stitch from your hook. You're gonna insert your hook into that back bump space. And as you can see now, we have 2 loops on our hook. You're gonna put the yarn over the hook and you're gonna pull through one of those. Now you have 2 loops again on your hook. You're gonna yarn over and you're gonna pull through 2. So if you can count to 2, you can make this blanket. Once again, insert into the back bump. Make sure you have all 3 strands there on your hook. You're gonna yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is how you make a single crochet stitch. So we have made it to our very last chain space. So you're working a single crochet into every single chain space that you started. So if your chain was 12 chains long, then you're going to work 12 single crochets. So always remember that. You're going to insert into that last back bump, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. So we have our first row done, and this is what it should look like. So to start your second row, you're going to chain 1, which is, remember, yarn over, pull through, and you're going to turn your work. Now we're going to work down this side, and what you're going to work in this time is those V spaces. So as you can see, we've got 1 right here, but that is our turning chain. So we're going to work into our first actual stitch space right here, and you're going to slide your hook under that V. Do the same single crochet, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And you are going to continue this until you're done. Really, other than the border on this blanket and then how to add in a new ball of yarn once some of your yarn runs out and you get to the end of these balls that you're working on. Other than that, this is all you need to know. So you just continue to work single crochets into each stitch and chaining 1 and turning your work. I'll show you that one more time once we get to the end of this row. And as you can see, we have 1 V left, 1 stitch space left right there. You're going to insert in that V. You got your yarn right here, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, chain 1, and turn. And you just continue this until you run out of a ball of yarn, and I'll show you how to incorporate a new ball next. So once you have run out of one of your balls of yarn, as you can see here, I'm about to run out right here. What I found is that they don't all run out at the same time. Like if you look over here, I've still got quite a bit of yarn in the other 2 balls, but in one of them I am just about to run out. So you're gonna have to do this process a couple times, especially if you are making a larger blanket, because just 1 set of 3 is not gonna get you that far, and you will see that as you make this blanket. You're gonna continue to single crochet along as you've been doing, but here, I'll wait. When you have just a little bit of this yarn left, you're going to add a new ball. So how you do that is you insert your hook, and before you yarn over to pull through 1 for the first time, you're gonna grab your new ball of yarn, pull a strand off of it, and you're gonna lay it over your hook, all right? So you've got your normal yarn that you've been working with, and now you have this new ball of yarn, and you're going to pull all 4 strands through the first one. Now you're gonna find those 2 tails, okay? So one of these is the tail of the new strand of yarn, right there. And the other one, let's look right here, is the tail from the old ball of yarn, all right? You're not gonna worry about these. You're gonna pick up the other 3, and now this has your new ball of yarn incorporated, and then those other 2 balls of yarn that haven't run out yet. You're going to yarn over and finish that single crochet stitch and pull through 2. So how to incorporate these tails so that they won't come out and so that your new ball of yarn will be incorporated and that it won't come unraveled is you are going to just lay those over the stitches as you continue to single crochet. So you're going to insert your hook into the next space. You're going to lay those tails over, and then when you pull through, to start your next single crochet, you're going to basically crochet over these. So there's no chance of them coming out, and then you don't have to weave them in later. So once again, you're gonna insert your hook into the next space, lay those tails right over, then take your working yarn, pull through one, and pull through two. So you're just working your single crochets with these tails just kind of tucked underneath them. So that is how I like to incorporate a new ball of yarn. There is no trace of it, nobody would know. And if, as you're working, if any of them start to poke out, then you can just go through and clip them at the end, and nobody will ever know they're in there, and your blanket will stay together forever. So just continue doing this until you reach your desired width, and then lastly I will show you how to do a border. The border on this could not be simpler. It's just single crochet, and I like to go around probably 2 or 3 times. I've gone around even 4 times when I just have a bunch of yarn to use up. But we are headed to the very last stitch on this row. And see, it's right here. And the only thing that's different about a border is you're going to work 3 single crochets into this corner stitch. So we just did our last single crochet for this row. We're gonna work 2 more into the same space. That way there are 3 in this space. So there's your second single crochet, and now your third. And that is gonna give us a nice round edge, and nothing's gonna be like tugging or pulling when it comes to our border. So now we're going to turn our blanket, and we are going to work down the first side. So this part can be a little bit tricky because you're working into these edges and the ends of the row, and so it's kind of hard to tell where exactly you need to work each single crochet. But what I like to do is work one on these flat spaces right here, and then one under these rounded knotted spaces as well. As you can see, there's flat and then the knotted space, flat and then the knotted space. So I'll show you what that looks like. We're gonna slide under that kind of straight edge, do a single crochet, and then we're gonna work into this hole right here, single crochet. Now we're gonna work into this next flat, straight space. And see, once again, we have this kind of knotted area. And so you're just gonna continue that all the way down this side, and then you will just work around the entire blanket. So you'll work down this side, then you'll work down the base, original like starting chain, work down the other side, and then if you wanna do multiple rows of border, then you just keep on going, and you continue to work 3 single crochets into the corner stitch. So when you get to the last row of your border, I did 3 rows for the border, and you can see how it looks. You're just going to do a slip stitch, which is where you insert your hook, pull through, and then instead of, you know, yarning over and pulling through again, you just pull through the other loop like that. And now we are going to cut a decent sized tail, not too long, it doesn't need to be anything crazy long. And we are going to pull that through that stitch. And then what I'm gonna do, let's see, I'm gonna pull it, stretch it out. What I'm gonna do is now go in and weave my tail just in this area back and forth so that it's nice and secure. Last but not least, look over your blanket and see if you have any pieces of yarn sticking out kind of like this. What this is when we added a new ball of yarn, some of those strands that we kind of wove in as we worked our single crochet stitches, as the blanket has stretched and we continued to work on it, some of them have wiggled their way out. But the good news is that they've stretched probably as much as they're going to, so all you're gonna do is just snip this with a little pair of scissors and it will stay put. But be sure to look over your whole project for any stragglers like this, just so that everything is nice and finished.